right, so I have a bit of a combo video for you this time. It's mainly a time lapse, but it's a bit of a tutorial. I was commissioned to do a portrait for the lovely Beth and Emma by my good friend Elise Benin of Marketing Mentor. Check her out, especially if you are a creative person. The link is in the description. So Elise had sent me a group of photos and told me kind of what she thought would be a good look for this. And from there, I tried to come up with some different ways to do this. What I wanted to include this time that I don't include in a lot of my videos is kind of the whole process. So this one, I struggle with a bit more than I thought I would. And I did a few different renditions and sketches and all sorts of things. And one thing that I don't usually do that I need to do more of, and I used to kind of do with my students, even though they didn't know I was doing this, is sometimes you kind of have to work through what you know is not going to be good. So sometimes you just have to kind of see it through, start with what you're working on, finish it, figure out what's bad about it. But also you can kind of use it to practice some techniques, see if that's going to work in the final product. So in this video, I'm just going to show you all that, walk you through it. And to Beth, I hope you enjoy this and the portrait. All right, let's jump into it. So here are some of the photos of Emma. And a few photos of Emma with some different folks. Here's Elise. This is Beth. There's a nice photo of them. So the idea was to look through these photos, figure out how to kind of put them together and make a good composite portrait out of that. I was thinking that I could come up with an angle that I didn't actually have a photo for. And that proved to be trickier than I thought. So I started with some thumbnails so I could just get a general idea of if the composition would work and everything first. And from there, Elise and I talked over two of them and decided to go with the one. And that's what I started out with my drawings. So in this first one, so I'm drawing this on just like computer paper, and then I would scan it into the computer and print out a version of it on the Bristol board that I use. But because I'm just working out the kinks, I'm using just the copy paper. So as I'm drawing this, I'm realizing, one, this doesn't really look like Beth. And two, I'm not sure if it's quite the right style anyway. You'll notice this is kind of small, but I can blow it up in the computer, so that's not an issue. It's easier to work smaller to begin with. All right, so that didn't work. I'm moving on to this other angle, and I looked up some images online to try to find pictures of people with their dogs and how they're interacting, and that's kind of what I was using that for. That wasn't looking great, so now I'm trying another version of that same angle where this woman is kind of hugging her dog, because I feel like I have enough to go off of there with the photos that I have. Okay, so I've taken this, scanned it in the computer, printed it on the Bristol in just a really light line work, and now I'm inking this. So I'm just doing an ink wash technique over the whole thing. I go back and forth a lot between, do I want to use pencil? Do I want to outline in color pencil? Just paint, which takes a lot more time, or ink it with pen or paintbrush. And I'm always inclined towards ink. I just love ink. And in this one, I was really trying not to do that. Not to use that, just I wasn't really wanting like the dark black kind of style for this one. So I've reprinted the drawing, tweaked it a little bit, and this is now a second version of this same drawing. So I decided to just try a little bit, just in like the pupils and that sort of thing on this one, see if I like it. Because I'm already feeling like, all right, this isn't totally working, but I want to see what kind of medium I should use here, what's going to work and look good the way I want it to. So I'm still trying to work that out. I'm using the ink, so you don't have to do this, but sometimes it's nice to use the ink as your base layer just to make sure you've got all your different, the shading correct. And then you can go over it with watercolor. It gives a little bit of a different look, but that's one way you can do it if you're more comfortable working in black and white. So that was the technique I was going for here, was just starting with the ink and then adding the watercolor and seeing how I like that. Yeah, so at this point, there's a lot about this that doesn't really feel quite right to me, but I'm still, like I said, still trying to just kind of work out the painting part of it and how I want to handle that. All right, so since I'm not happy with that, what I decided to do this time is to kind of help my brain a little bit and go through the photos and actually kind of cut them up and Photoshop them together and see what works, and also to try to match the saturation levels and colors and all that kind of stuff. So I've done that, and now I've taken that image, printed it out, so I could look at it alongside of what I'm working on and to help me measure also. And I'm feeling way better about this. I like the style. I'm focusing more on the drawing than the painting, which is where I feel more confident when doing pieces that are supposed to be a bit more realistic looking. So this is feeling right, finally. And now I'm doing something that I don't really do a lot of, though, is a lot of pencil. So a lot of like the line work in pencil and then adding watercolor to that. So when I get to the color part, I am looking at my computer too, because you see the photo that I had printed out of Beth and Emma. It's a black and white version. And I have my computer nearby so I can look at the color and try to match that better too, not just totally make that up. Emma is a little tricky too because she's got such wiry hair that you could do a fluid mask with the watercolor, but I don't really do that too often. I kind of prefer to go in with acrylic paint or Prisma white color pencil on top of things. So for her, I decided just to try to work with all the darker tones first and then go back and add the white, the acrylic paint on top later for our wiry white hairs that you need to see against the other colors. I've got a lot of layers going on here, so you'll see me hitting this with a hairdryer quite a bit so I can keep moving along. And we're nearing the end. It's quite a process, but I enjoyed it, and I'm really happy with the final outcome, and I hope Beth is too. Well, if you enjoyed this, please give it a like and subscribe. Come back and see me. I'll be sharing more time lapses, tutorials, and kids stuff here soon.